This story is about the great grand sage Aristotle, who defeated the cruel demon Lord with the hero and invested all his remaining time into researching magic tools and developing civilization. After all this, his story is ending as he has lived his life, and now it is time to leave everyone at peace. The grand sage lying on his bed, and everyone is surrounding him as he is taking his last breath. Everyone seems sad as he is going to leave them, but the grand sage asks them not to make that face as he has lived long enough, but the people next to him say that they thought he might have conquered the death. The grand sage explains that he has done a lot of research on that, but nothing was fruitful, and claims that no one can escape death. The old grand sage then asks Meltera that he got one last wish before he leaves, and Meltera asks him to ask for anything he wants from her. The old grand sage with the last bit of breath in his sick asks her if she can allow him to squeeze her melons, and she yells at him not to mess with her. She keeps yelling, and everyone asks her to calm down, and the people there ask the grand sage to keep his feeling in his stick as they are going to flub out. Everyone gets quiet after that, and one of them yells that the grand sage has left them and wonders if this was his last wish. They cannot believe that he is no more, as he is the sage who saved the whole world, and he is no more now. The grand sage got too much love from people and shared his stick with many girls in return for his knowledge, but in the end, he got what he deserved. He left them all in just one go and made a promise to them. Now the story takes a twist, and the leader of the famous magic user family, who has the duty of protecting the borders, Gallia Blazel, and his wife, Melina Rodolph, is the one that has the same strength as Gallia. The son they gave birth to was the hope of their family. He walks in to see his son and wife, and his wife tells him that she can feel the love from the baby, but Gallia cannot understand what she is pointing towards. Amidst, a guy enters the room telling them that the measuring device is ready. Mages can cast magic with the help of magic tools like staffs, but a magic tool requires energy, or else it will not be activated. No matter how strong of a magic tool one possesses, if they do not have energy, they cannot use it. Therefore, the Blazels, who possess a lot of magic tools that require tons of energy, want to know how much energy their son possesses. Thus, they take their son for the measurement of the energy, and Gallia claims that there is no need to worry about anything, as it is their son, and he will have enough energy to surpass them all. They start the test, and a loud sound comes from the machine, and they cannot understand it. When everyone looked at the measuring gauge, it was at 3, and people could not believe it, as even a normal person has more energy than that. They think that the display has some issue, and then Mariana Sama asks them all to wait and claims that she saw the needle make 11 full turns, and maybe it is not 3 but 1103. However, no one wants to believe that, as only a fool can imagine that, and they think the grand sage was not stupid to make this device and make it turn back to 0 after reaching 100. Then they say, even if this kid starts his training right now, it would take too long to reach Gallia Sama's expectations, and the Blazels and Redolphs have no use for trash like this. Gallia asks everyone to spread the news that the baby was not born alive and tells them not to tell anyone about this incident. Then Meliana and Gallia leave the room, and Gallia asks the guy who tested the energy if he is sure, and the guy says that he is sure that it was 3. Gallia and Melina leave the room, and the baby who betrayed everyone's expectations is left in the forbidden parts of the forest. While in the middle of nowhere, the baby thinks about being left like this right after coming into this world. He has the memories of his precious life too, but everyone laughed it off, saying it was a wild coincidence, but he, believing in the possibilities of reincarnation, starting to research, and he made a magic tool that can store energy and memories into his soul. The baby who carefully licked the melons that belonged to his mother is a baby that has received both the Grand Sage's memory and energy. The measuring device everyone was talking about was Grand Sage's tool, and the baby admits that he was the one who invented it. However, according to the baby Grand Sage, that was a failed prototype because it was not able to measure the energy above 100. Thus, it was an embarrassing tool he threw away. The baby Grand Sage says thanks to that flaw and wonders if it is a divine tool now. Our protagonist knows that his mother noticed the right energy level, which was around 1103, but it was magnitudes lower than in his past life, but he cannot ignore the fact that he is still a little baby. The device that our protagonist wished would work the way he wanted it to was what he thought, but it actually worked, and he is proud of himself. While he is having these thoughts in the middle of nowhere, some goblins come towards him, and he knows that some monsters are coming towards him. The little Grand Sage cannot move because he is stuck inside the clothes at the same time, even if he is not bound. There is no way he could move as he is a baby. Moreover, he cannot use his energy even if he has unlimited power, because his staff is not there with him. The little stick Grand Sage is thinking about all this amidst someone walks into the forest and says that he got a great appearance while calling him his master. The baby Grand Sage thinks that it is Nelterra, but he is wrong, as the one who came to save him is the dragon staff, known as the Grand Sage's favorite staff. Even after recognizing that it is his favorite staff who came there to save him, the Grand Sage seems unsatisfied about it because he did not have enough juicy melons in his previous life. And now that he got one of his mother's, he is left like this. Which is why our protagonist was waiting for someone with melons. As he mentions this, the Grand Sage's favorite staff, the dragon staff, wishes him good luck for his next life and tries to leave the scene. But our protagonist asks them to wait while claiming that he was just joking about it. The little Grand Sage calls the staff Rinrin, and the staff gets annoyed by it. As the monster messes with our little baby Grand Sage, he comes back with full energy as he gets his staff with him and fights with the monster with all that he has. Meanwhile, he sets his new name as Ruse, so that he can sign a new contract and so that he can be called by a specific name. Rios uses the energy to deal with the monsters, and he thinks that he went all out and it is the limit. Amidst, his staff tells him to rest, as it is more than enough for his little body. After using the magic, Rios' neck starts to hurt, and he wonders if this is happening because he used magic energy. The dragon staff explains that his neck was not properly grown yet, and any intense movement is surely going to dislocate his spine, thus, he needs to be careful about that. Our little protagonist asks Rinrin about how long ago he passed, and the dragon staff is not sure about that, as it was asleep, but when they woke up, the research lab was in the runs, and from what they can predict is that everyone from the lab was ready. Rios understands it, and he decides not to sit there and cry about it. Moreover, he is happy about the fact that he got to reunite with Rinrin. He starts to think about what to do next, as he has the power, energy, and memories, and with all that he can do everything effortlessly. He wonders if he should rule the monsters and create a new kingdom or go to the battlefield. Moreover, he also wonders if he should share his love with mature women. While he is thinking about that, the dragon staff tells him that he needs milk, and he guesses that he is hungry at the moment, and the dragon staff tells him that it is his priority. Rinrin tells him that even though he is the strongest, he is still a baby, and he needs about 30 milliliters per serving and to be served once every 3 hours. Rios could not believe the fact that he needs that for every 3 hours, and Rinrin tells him that he needs that for every 3 hours plus for 3 to 4 months. After listening to this, Rios asks Rinrin if he thinks that a random mother would just feed a random baby the melon juice because it can speak and ask for it. Rinrin ignores the questions and asks the master if he is sure that this will be easy for him, and Rios replies that it will be easy with a confident tone and expression on his face. Then our protagonist tells Rinrin that he will look for milk in the forest, and Rinrin claims that it won't be that simple. However, little Rios is very confident about it, and he asks Rinrin to just follow him and believe him. Then he asks Rinrin to play a lot more than in their past lives and calls Rinrin his friend. Our little protagonist remembers his words, "If one cannot conquer death, then they should surpass it." These words sounded impossible to Rinrin, but those were the words that kept Rios motivated in his previous life. However, Rinrin never understood why his master is so obsessed with defeating death itself, even though he has learned so much about everything in this world within the short human life. Our protagonist has lived a fruitful life, and he has nothing to regret, but he still had another wish, which was to squeeze Nelterra's melons, as they are amazing, and he wanted to squeeze them till he died. The old Grand Sage used to think that if he was going to be reincarnated, he would accompany Rinrin, after he had lived all by himself for so long. He made a promise to Rinrin that he would hang out with him whenever he got reincarnated, but Rinrin never believed him, and he told him to believe him, as he would become immortal if he put his heart into it. He asked Rinrin to believe in him, as he was the great Grand Sage. Rinrin waited for him, as his master promised him after all. The great Grand Sage asked him to wait for him, and a staff as powerful as Rinrin waited for him in a place where no one came just because of a promise. He stayed there to help the planless promise as a friend. Rinrin even had a talk with Nelterra about the Grand Sage, that he is just someone who cannot surpass curiosity. He talked about how he was asked to leave the Magic Arts Society to be a love distributor, and he even died because he was sharing love with her. Rinrin asked Meltera not to worry about the slap she gave him, because he would have died without it anyway, and maybe he was happy that he died with the slap from her. He told her not to forget that he would never break his promise. However, in this life, Rias is happy that he can get near women to share his love with them, and Rinrin tells him that he even did that in his past life. Rias explains that he could not share his love at that time when Rinrin asks him to stay quiet. While Rinrin is walking behind Rias to get the milk for him, he is questioning himself if Rias will be able to achieve what he wants this time. The great Grand Sage spent his lifetime researching magic and magic tools. Furthermore, it was said that the development of civilization was dependent on his shoulders. He was known as the strongest sage, but when he was at the end of his life, he shared love with his lovers, which is why he got punched by a girl and died. However, by researching the circle of reincarnation, he created a magic tool known as the Rebirth King. He succeeded with his memory still intact, with which the curtain for his second life has opened. While staying in the forest, Rinrin asks his master if he is okay, and Rias claims there is no way that he is okay because he is hungry. He claims if he was a normal baby, then he would have cried till now, but as a grand sage, he cannot cry out loud. He feels down but remembers a spell that he can use while Linlin is with him. The spell he is talking about is known as the item box. It is the spell that makes it possible to access the surface item storage, and inside that surface, there are a lot of magic tools that he has made in previous life, and he can access a lot of food saved there, but that food is too large. With this, the food problem is solved, but the powdered milk remains. Rias feels like he is going to be no more if he does not find any milk as soon as possible. While they are waiting in the middle of the forest, Rinrin feels a powerful energy nearby, so he asks Rias to leave the place as soon as possible, but when he looks for his master, he has already left. Meanwhile, in the middle of the forest, a monster is looking for food, and he keeps giving food to its children. While he is feeding them, Rias is also drinking the milk. The monster shakes itself to stand up, but Rias is still drinking the milk. The monster gets angry, and it pushes him away from itself. Rias is happy to drink the milk, even though it is thinner. Therefore, he asks the wolf to be his parent and claims that he just wants the milk needed to live. Rias starts to throw up, and he wonders if it is possible, but Rinrin tells him that it is just normal for a baby to throw up when overfed. He tells him to burp properly, and Rias feels disappointed with the shape he is in right now. After throwing up, Rias feels hungry again. Amidst, Rinrin shows his magic power, and Rias wonders what is with this magic power. The wolf in front of him gets scared of Linlin, but he is not frightened by the baby Rias, and Rias feels frustrated by that. Linlin makes fun of him by asking if he is jealous and calls him a cutie, but Rias angrily asks him to stop messing around with him. Linlin tells him if he messes with the wolf, then he might not get any milk from it. As they are talking, Wolf gets angry and tells them to stop messing with him and clarifies if they mess with even one of his kids, then he will not let them go so easily. Rias tries to control his laugh while saying to Wolf, if he has 10 kids, then it does not matter to have one more. However, the wolf is not worried about that, and he has something else in his mind at the moment. Rias asks the wolf if he does not have 9 kids, as one is missing at the moment, and the wolf counts them to be sure. After counting, he gets to know that he has 9 kids, and he yells that one of the kids is missing. Amidst, Linlin asks the wolf if he adds one more, will anything change now? The wolf claims that he will search for his kid by his smell. The wolf starts to smell, but his nose is dripping as he is having a fever, and Rias takes advantage of the moment to ask the wolf if he feeds him, then he promises to bring his kid back to him. The wolf replies that it is easy for him to say, but this forest is wider than he thinks, and it is dangerous at the same time. He asks Rias how will he find his kid without a strong sense of smell. Rias commands Linlin to search for the wolf's kid, and he starts to do as asked. He keeps looking for him and finally finds him in the forest, but it seems like he is far away and he is in a humid place full of mushrooms. The wolf does not want to believe him as that place belongs to the Eastern Demon's territory, and there is no way the little kid can get that far away on his own. Rias tells him that he is there and tells him to come along so that he can see his kid. However, the wolf asks him to wait as the Eastern Demon territory is far more dangerous than he thinks, and more than anything, his kid accidentally breaks the contract. He claims that he has no other choice but to give up. Rias asks him about the contract, and the wolf explains that this forest has 4 armies, and no matter how much fight happens, the armies will always be competing. Every time they fought, the victors did not get off, and the contract was made between the masters of the four powers. The point the wolf is trying to make is that they are not supposed to get close to each other, and if they take one step inside the territory, then they will be beaten up and no one will come to rescue them. The wolf claims that there is nothing else to be done as the contract is already broken and there is no need for them to go. Rias looks at the wolf and claims that he never wanted to go. The wolf asks him if he never had an intention of bringing the kid back, and Rias replies no, and asks if he has made a promise to bring him here. Rias flies and says that he will bring him here no matter what. Rias uses his magic skills and shows up in a peaceful mushroom area to look for the kid. On the other hand, the little wolf is walking between the mushroom forest and something seems strange there. Our protagonist keeps looking for him and thinks if he is in a location where an eye cannot reach him, then it is dangerous to use magic, such as gravitational magic. However, if the position of the subject is known, then it is okay to just bring the approximate position. Rias is ready to do anything to be fed from the melons. Therefore, he lands between the mushroom forest and finds the little wolf. He asks the big mother wolf if this is the one, and she claims that yes, it is her child. Meanwhile, the mother wolf is wondering about who this little kid is, as he just used the magic that is too abnormal for a kid to use. After handing over the little kid back to the wolf, Rias asks the mother wolf to give the milk to him, but the wolf gets scared and runs away from there. Rias asks her to wait for him, but she does not want to accept him as a kid. While running behind the wolf, Rias and Linlin sense the manipulation magic from the little wolf. Rias cancels the brainwashing spell because he knows that the wolf was manipulated to make it seem like he broke the contract. Linlin mentions that even though they finally secured the food, there is an unpleasant feeling about something. Meanwhile, Rias says that he was right about that a good spell will convey the creator's thoughts, and they carefully crafted the magic technique to pull the wold cub into their territory, assuming the cub's parent would not find out. The more he discovers, the more hateful it becomes. Rias wonders what kind of person could create such good magic, and he wants to meet him just to praise his magic. Lilin compliments him that he is a magic lover, and Rias likes his compliment. While our protagonist is drinking the milk out of melons, huge monsters are wandering around in search of him while claiming that his strategy is no good. They have already stopped thinking and they want to beat everyone in their territory, while the wolf with the kids is laying in the forest and Rias is drinking the milk out of the soft melon. Rias somehow managed to get the milk from the wolf, and it's been 3 weeks since he has been drinking the milk and living life in the forest with the wolves. Even after 3 weeks, Rias has not changed the slightest, and Mother Wolf asks him how long will it take for him to walk on his own. Rias hugs his mother and says that she has not even recovered yet from the sickness in 3 weeks, then how can he grow up in this little time? The Mother Wolf gets angry at him and tells him not to call her mother as it sounds weird to her. Rias says that he has been fed by her, so how can he not call her mother? The Mother Wolf claims the way he calls her mother gives her shivers and she cannot take it anymore. While they are having a convo, a wolf appears with terrible news that the Eastern Territory Army is coming towards them and a division of more than 5,000 men is attacking everything that comes in their way. Wolf listens to him and then says to Rias that it seems like what he told her before is true, and he asks her in a questioning tone if she believes him now. The wolf claims that they are in the king's sight and they really intend to beat them up. Rias is not sure who is the king of the East, so the wolf tells him that in this forbidden forest, there is a king for each of the 4 territories, marked by the giant god's sword in its center, and it is true that they are the strongest boss of that territory. Rias understands the explanation and then asks if there is a king in the south too. The wolf asks him if she never told him about it, and then claims that she is the king of the south. The dramatic lights turn on and the showcase of the king is completed, after which the wounded wolf takes the king with him, and the king tells him to take care of the little wolves and take them to a safe place. After hearing that the mother wolf is the king of the south, Rias feels excited and he jumps on the ground using magic. He claims that it is great that his mother is the king and he never thought that his mother is a powerful being. Rias hits the guide and the mother wolf asks him why did he that. Rias then asks her to look carefully. This looks the same as the brainwashing magic used on her pup, and it is probably those Easterners doing. The king asks him if they are preparing for this day, and she claims that it looks easy to remove, but it is a pain. However, they don't have the time to make sure that no one is brainwashed, and once the fight starts, they have to be careful of both their enemies and allies. The greatest strength of the demon wolf is the teamwork, says the king, and not being able to trust their allies is a very serious disadvantage. Rias calls his mother again and again, and the mother wolf asks him what is wrong with him, and she does not want to give him the milk, but Rias has something else going through his mind. He claims that he has figured it out easily about the one who has been pulling the strings. King does not want to believe him, and she asks what he means by that. Rias explains that although the brainwashing spell looks powerful, it does not mean that there is no way to detect that. He explains that the one affected by this magic will automatically move for their objective. In short, they may abandon their other needs such as eating, sleeping, and doing other things. Moreover, the one who probably stands out the most is the one from whom they should feel fear. He says when Linlin flew here while releasing the fluid, the guides straight up ignored it. Rias shows his powers and asks all the wolves to sit down, and all of them sit right in front of him. He hits the king with the magic, and then the mushrooms are shown. He says as expected of the mother, and then claims that now they do not have to mark who is on their side and who is not. Rias starts to feel a scent, and he says that he picked up a very strange scent. The king asks him if it is a scent of the other wolves, and Rias, with a smile on his face, says of course. Who would have thought that the king of the south is so weak? The other territory army has arrived, and they have been preparing for too long now. They want to beat everyone in front of them as they need food to eat. They keep beating, eating, and drinking the meat while moving forward towards the wolves and the king. As the kings come in front of each other, the southern king says to the eastern one if he knows what he has done. She says everyone here will be injured, and she asks him if he will be able to defeat her, as the north and the west will come to him while he is still licking his wounds. She says winning or losing is the end for her, but the eastern king does not care about anything. He says he is here for the meat, and he just wants that. The mother wolf says to the other king that it seems like the words are just going out of the other ear, and says that in the end, he is just a bug who cannot understand words. She feels shame for him, and the eastern king asks his army to beat them all up. All of the monsters run towards each other, and the baby Rias thinks that this has become an all-out fight, and he finds it as a lively bunch. The baby, whose stick does not even work, activates the sword mode and takes out the sword to match with the monsters. They keep fighting, and after some time, Rias thinks that the wolves are at a disadvantage, but there is no helping it as the other side has been preparing for quite some time after all. While he is observing the situation, Linlin tells his master that he got a proposal, and Rias asks him about it. He gives a proposal to his master to escape as soon as possible, and Rias looks at Linlin and asks him to repeat what he said. Linlin explains that he can see by judging the growth of the demon wolves that they will hit their limit soon, and there is no merit in siding with them in a battle of this scale. Rias realizes that he is not wrong, and he starts to think about it. Meanwhile, King Wolf gets hurt, and her movement becomes dull. The Eastern demon used the magic to steal her sense of smell, which is why she was feeling sick, and she was not able to smell anything. Amidst, Rias tries to fly using the wings, but the huge spider monster hits his wing with a leg, due to which he falls on the ground, and Linlin feels concerned about him. Rias replies that he is also surprised by the attack. Earlier, Rias talks to his mother wolf, asking her if she is okay with feeding him, even if he is not her son. He feels like she is an honest person, but the wolf's mother feels disgusted by the praise, and she asks him why he had to do it like that. Rias thought of her as his mother, and he claims that this is the power of the melon love. He says positively that no sage can measure the power of melons. Therefore, he calls Linlin in the middle of the fight, and he tells him that this is no longer about give and take. For him, the matter is about his beloved mother, as she is in danger, and as her son, he will protect her with his full power. Linlin tells him that if he wants to use his full potential accumulated in his previous life, he must put himself to sleep. He asks him if he is fine with that, and Rias seems ready for it, claiming that he does not mind it. After he gets his full potential, he hits the spider demon with the full potential and gets rid of him. Meanwhile, the wolf mother feels okay, and her wounds start to heal too. She starts to think what is happening to her, and Linlin says that they got rid of the demon forces and recovery for all allies has been completed. Thus, he announces that Rias's body will be put to full sleep, and Rias says goodnight to him. He falls from the height, but the mother wolf catches him, and she asks him who he is. However, he does not reply to her properly and claims that he loves his mother and that he is a normal human baby. All of them go back to their territory to meet their siblings and have a good rest there since all of the spiders who came to mess with them are no more and they got rid of them. Rios may look like a normal baby, but his magic powers are extraordinary, as you all can see. When the wolves return to their pack, some of the wolves get up against Rios and they claim that this baby is far more dangerous than they can think of and that he will disrupt the power balance of this land. They ask the king to make him leave the forest and ask if she thinks that the baby is more important than the pack's influence. The king says that he is the reason they are fine right now, or else the pack would have been food for the spiders. She claims that he is their savior, and with him, they are not limited to the southern forest, they may be able to rule the entirety. The king asks the wolves to shut their mouths as they are just talking like the spiders. Rios gets food from a wolf and she asks him to come back whenever he needs it. As he leaves there, Linlin says that he is worried that the ruler of the south is not feeding him anymore, but he manages to get milk from the other wolves of the pack. Rios feels glad that his idea worked and he is able to get milk. When Linlin went to sleep, Rios was worried that he might see him starving when he got up, because he was an ordinary baby. He flies toward the wolves and claims that it is time. He meets the Wolf King and claims that he is going to leave because he thinks that the things in the pack have gotten tense because of him and he can feel that too. Besides, the pack is well organized as the Wolf King is there, and if he stays there, he will be in the way. The mother wolf tells him that some guys are a danger to him, but he can just ignore them. Then she asks him, what is he going to do about the milk as he still needs that? Rios closes his eyes and takes a glance at the item box and brings out a huge bottle of milk. He tells the wolf's mother that he stored this milk here, and the mother wolf says to him that he is a disgusting baby. Then she asks him about the nipple part of the bottle as it is weird, and Rios tells her that it is a slime. Wolf's mother feels even more disgusted, but Rios assures her that he washed it so it is clean. Amidst all of the wolves run towards Rios, and the wolf mother asks them to stop that while asking what has gotten into them all of a sudden. Then she tells Rios that he can go, but he has to remember one thing, that he can come back whenever he wants to. Rios feels good about it, and he feels like he got a home to come back to from a trip and feels good about that. He uses his magic flies into the air and says goodbye to all of them. While flying, Linlin claims that he did not expect that, and Rios asks him about it. Linlin says that he is talking about the stable food supply and claims that he thought that he was going to stay for a few years. Rios says that he guesses so, but he had never seen a magic power that was overflowing from the giant god's sword in his previous life, and it was exciting to see the territoriality the wolves and spiders had for that forest. He was excited about that because he had never seen that before in his previous life. However, after the month there, he understood the magic structure of the sword, and now he can return to the Forbidden Forest. Linlin asks him to stop it, and Rios guesses that being too smart is also a problem and laughs about it. He claims that there shouldn't be any problem as they are talking about him, and this world is constantly expanding and getting more diverse. Therefore, it would be disrespectful to the world for him to stay there. Linlin asks Rios about what is he going to do from now on, and Rios remembers something that he wanted to become an adventurer after having reincarnated successfully. Linlin shockingly asks if babies can also join guilds and become adventurers, and Rios says that it will be a piece of cake as they just have to go somewhere with no age restriction. Moreover, if they have something like that, he will just make them stay quiet with his powers. Linlin feels curious, and he has no clue why Rios wants to be an adventurer, as he thought his master was going to take the path of the sage as he did in his previous life. Rios replies that it is going to be fun. Then he asks Linlin if he remembers the guy who got reincarnated, and Linlin remembers him as his master Rios would not be here if he had not shown up at the laboratory. Rios claims that the guy preserved his knowledge and abilities from a past life, and he also became an adventurer after leaving the library. Linlin asks him if he is going to make him leave, and asks if that is the case, then why he wants to do that. However, things are getting confusing for Linlin, and they finally reach the Tower of the Great Sage in previous life when our protagonist met the guy who got reincarnated. The Grand Sage said to him that he surely had grown up since the reincarnation, and the guy told him that it had been 10 years since he had left this place. Grand Sage then claimed that he had heard about it and asked him why he had joined the Adventurers Guild, and he claimed that he was trying to be the best there. Then Sage asked him, why would someone as strong as him join the Adventurers Guild, as he was sure that he could have got a better position with a better status, but the guy was not interested in the power and claimed that he liked the adventurers. However, our Grand Sage felt ashamed that the guy got paid poorly and he never knew when the next check was coming. The Grand Sage asked him what is so good to be an adventurer, and the guy replied that there is no shame in it as there are many types of quests. Plus, there are some of them that cannot be cleared just by using power. No matter how strong he is, his connections with other people will always be important. The guy told him that the good thing about being an adventurer is that he can enjoy the unique experiences that are a series of amazing events. The Grand Sage asked him about the events and laughed at him for having the same free spirit as him. He said that it is hard to face new things and he had too much fun while having a conversation with that guy. While the little guy was talking to the Grand Sage, a lot of girls came near him and told him to hurry up as he was taking too long. They asked him about the conversation he had with the Grand Sage, and the girls were impressed by him as he was talking with the great Grand Sage like it was nothing. Every single girl found him as a cutie and they wanted him to lick their melons. Okay, I am adding this on my own. However, the guy told them to stay outside, and the girls wanted to be with him as they were bored. The girl talked about the companionship the Grand Sage was looking for, and the Grand Sage went back for experiments to look for thousands of possibilities. Rias told this story to Linlin after reincarnation and asked if he gets it now and why he wants to be an adventurer. Linlin was highly impressed until the halfway point, but he does not understand his point of view, and he does not even want to know about it. For the ones who get reincarnated, people like them, and they look up to them as they are born with abilities and experiences, and they even have young looks. Rias is happy to be reincarnated, and he wants to join the guild because he can easily create a room for the girl to share love with them. Linlin starts to run behind Rias after hearing it, and Rias asks him what he is trying to do. So Linlin says that babies cry out loud due to fear. Rias says sorry to Linlin as his expectations were simply too much for him to handle. Linlin then claims that he wants to make a clear point that creating a team full of female adventurers is simply impossible. Rias plays cool, and he asks Linlin whom does he think he is, as he can even find the milk in the middle of the forest, so he can do anything. He claims that finding a couple of bored female adventurers with big melons who are willing to team up will be a piece of cake for him. While he is chatting with Linlin, a girl with big melons enters the guild and everyone starts to question who she is. The girl has a gand and village goods. She belongs to a village where everyone used to mess with her. The girl acts in the guild like she is at home, and the girl says, "Emergency quest class C." She claims that she destroyed the gand and recovered the girl with the goods. The girl gets the bonus reward. She looks at the person standing in front of her and claims that she does not see anyone who looks like the person in the sketch. Then she angrily asks everyone what is wrong with them and questions if they know what will happen when a female adventurer comes here all by herself. The girl hits the guy in front of her, and the other companion tells the chief when he comes there to see what is going wrong. They tell their chief that a big melon girl came in there and she is messing with everyone. In addition, she even got Malala, the poor girl from the village. The chief could not believe that a woman came there to mess with them. Therefore, he asks her if she is from the Dulce Guild, and then questions why she is there and all of the guys are captured by her. The girl claims that she is doing all this because she is bored and she hopes that they will let her have some fun. In the church, a measuring device checks a newborn kid's energy, and it is 89 according to them. The family standing there asks the father if he is sure about it, and the father claims that it is right, as the device is showing that energy. The guy gets speechless as the kid's power is more than him already, and no one thought that the child would be a genius from birth. The father asks Lord Gelia if there is a possibility that the child is not normal, and Gelia questions him what he is trying to say. Father tells him that this child might be the reincarnation of the Grand Sage, and Gelia could not believe it. Father tells him to keep his voice down when he says out loud with excitement that his son is the reincarnated Grand Sage, as it is a secret that only a handful of people from the church know. Then Father tells him that it was given to the saintess half a year ago, and the one renowned by all walks of magic, the great Grand Sage, will reincarnate in this era. Thus, it means that this child is the reincarnation of the Grand Sage. The girl in the hall next to them says that if this is the case, then she is convinced because it is unthinkable for a number as high as 98 to come out, and that is because the parents of this child are servants in the castle. The guy wanted to tell her something, but she was too convinced that she wanted to take the child as her own. Then she says the reason that the baby was left like this after the birth was that they wanted to prevent possible spreading of rumors that this child might be the reincarnation of the great sage. They say that for the great sage to be born between the House Brazel and House Radolf would be the best scenario anyone could wish for. Gallia claims that the number 98 is unbelievable as even his magic powers are at 67. Gallio asks immediately if there has been someone whose magic powers surpassed 100 when measured. It was a question of the moment, but it may very well have led to the truth of what happened 2 months ago. The father claimed that there were no cases of that ever happening, but the chance for that to happen is very low. Meanwhile, Ruse with Linlin is looking into a city. They are looking for the guild in there, but it seems like there is a magic barrier and Linlin wonders if it will not be easy for them to enter. Ruse asks Linlin to calm down or else problems will start even before they enter the city. He claims that they should enter through the main gate in such situations, but a baby entering on its own will cause quite a trouble. Ruse knows what to do, and he keeps an eye on the people who will help him to enter the city. He is talking about some guys walking towards the city, and they seem super tired and wounded while a girl is commanding them to keep walking. The guys try to mess with that girl, but another girl is walking right in front of them with whom they cannot mess. They keep walking, and the girl sees a baby right in front of her. The guys are shocked after seeing the baby who is floating in the air, and Rias, the baby, asks them to carry him into the city. The guys get shocked even more as the baby can talk while Rias is thinking if they carry him with them into the city, then it will be easy for him to enter in there. Linlin went into invisible mode so that everything seemed normal and the guys did not get scared. Linlin says that it is only that he thought no one would cooperate with them, and why in the world can he, a non-human being, understand human feelings? The guys start to shout as they think the baby in front of them is a monster, but the girl who saw the baby accepts to take him and enter the city. The village girl Malala says to Vanna that this child is dangerous, but Vanna does not care about that. Linlin says this girl is not an ordinary girl either. Vanna then says to the baby Rios that he is amazing, as he can speak even though he is just a baby. Rios tells her that his vocal cords and teeth are not fully developed, so he is using the magic, and the girl is impressed by him even after that. Vanna gets close to the baby, and the baby Rios puts his face between the melons while Linlin tells him to stop as there is no need to do that, but Rios wants to do that as it is his natural feeling. Then Rios asks the girl Vanna what is her name, and she tells him her name and claims that she is an adventurer working for the Adventurer Guild in the city of Volante. Then she asks him who he is, and he says that his name is Luce, a 2-month-old baby. The girl wonders what he is and keeps walking into the city. Rios asks Vanna if they are going to the guild, and she says that no, they are going to take the girl and the guys to the guards, then they will collect rewards and go home. She asks him why he asked that, and he tells her that he wanted to go to the Adventurers Guild. Vanna asks him why he wants to go there, and Rios tells her that he wants to register and be an adventurer himself. Vanna looks at him and says that he is something interesting while Rios is in her hands. In the city of Volant, everything is going according to the routine. Meanwhile, in the guild, people talk about Vanna, how she went to mess with some guys and they pity those unlucky guys. They say that when a woman adventurer goes alone to mess with a Gand, if things go south, there is a high chance she will be sharing her spart with them. However, if it is Vanna, there is nothing to worry about. Amidst, Vanna enters the guild with Rios, and everyone is shocked after seeing her like that. Vanna calls Iria-san, and she welcomes her back and praises her work that she did. Iria-san asks her if she has some business here, as she is supposed to collect the reward from the guards, and Vanna tells her that she does not have any business, but this child does. Rios sits on the table, and Iria finds him cute. Iria keeps loving him and finds him as a lovely kid. Then she asks Vanna what is with this child, and Vanna tells her that he wants to be an adventurer. Iria asks her to repeat what she said, as she thinks she misheard it. Rios starts to speak at the same time, and he asks Iria to register him in this guild because he wants to be an adventurer. He asks her if it is possible, and Iria tells him that it is only possible if he gets a bit more grown. Amidst, Iria realizes that the baby spoke, and she cannot control herself. She asks Vanna what is the meaning of this, as he is just a baby and he should not be speaking. Vanna tells Iria that she has seen this reaction before, so it is not amusing anymore. Iria finds it illogical, and Rios says that looking at the form, it seems like there is no age restriction for registering. Iria tells him that it is true that anyone can take a test, and Rius wonders if it is important to take a test nowadays to register into a guild. He asks Iria to let him take a test. Iria is still shocked, and she says there is no age restriction for someone to take it, but because she has never seen a baby take the exam, it is a bit shocking for her. She says that she will have to confirm this with the guild's master first, and Rius says that he will wait here. Amidst, the huge guild master shows up in action, and everyone asks him if something is happening. The guild master looks for the owner of an amazingly impressive power, and he questions if he is planning to hide from him. Rius says to Linlin if it is really impressive to see through the magic, and claims that he is sharp. The guild master could not believe that the baby spoke, and then he showed Linlin to everyone, claiming that he was his partner. The guild master asks him if that thing is his weapon. The guild master is shocked after seeing the little kid, and he thinks that if someone presented him with a powerful weapon before his eyes like that, one can only think that they are now standing in front of a frightening monster. However, he gets a very weird plus nostalgic feeling that he had back in time. While the guild master is thinking about it, Iria tells him that this child wanted to undertake the test, and the guild master claims that there is no age restriction to take the test, but even if he is so powerful, taking a test would not be worth anything. The guild master says that they will only be able to let him take the test when he can move and walk on his own. Amidst, Rius starts to float, and the master could not believe his eyes. Rius gets on his shoulder and says that he can do more than that, and asks the master if he is allowed to take the test. Meanwhile, the guild master thinks that this child is more powerful than the thing he faced back in time. The guild master agrees to allow him to take the test, but he says that he will personally take the exam because if any other examiner sees a child taking the test, then it will be another drama. Malala congratulates Rius for getting allowed to take the test, and she asks him when is the test going to take place. Rius replies that it seems that it will be held tomorrow evening, and he has no money, so he guesses that he will be camping in the forest for the night. Malala asks him if that would not look like a baby left alone, and Rius thinks that it is exactly what happened to him in real. Vanna could not let that happen, so she asked Rius if he wanted to stay in her room. She claims that her room is wide enough and Rius is quite small. Rius thinks that if he was an adult, then no one would ever invite him in, but now he is a baby and this is an opportunity for him. Amidst, Linlin asks his master if that would be a necessary thing to do, as they stayed in the forest for the last 2 months surrounded by the monsters, and he asks Rius if it will not be nice if they spend the night anywhere within the city walls. Rius thinks about it, and he says that he will stay and thanks his big sister Vanna for everything. Linlin calls him a bad boy after he agrees to sleep in Vanna's room, and Rius cannot deny what he called him, as you can see in the picture. In the city of Volante, a place 6 minutes away from the Dolge Adventurers Guild, Vanna takes Rius with her and shows him the room where he is going to stay. Rius feels glad to be in her room, but it seems like there is a lot of dust in there. Vanna explains the reason for the dust is that she rarely comes back home as there is nothing she can do here. Then she asks Rius about his meals, and he shows her the milk bottle to prove that he has everything he needs. Vanna says that is good then, and claims that he will get nothing if he drinks from her melons. Rius asks her if she would like him to try, but Linlin jumps in and Rius claims he was joking about it. Vanna tells him to sleep on the bed as she is going to sleep on the sofa, and before sleeping she tells him that she is going to get fresh. Rius thinks that he should see the view at the same time. Vanna asks him if he would like to accompany her while she is doing the task. Rius's eyes and mouth are left wide open, and he starts to drool due to hunger for the melons. It is because, until now, no one ever invited him to come to their house and join the task. He wonders if this is the true power of being a baby and understands the reason for being reincarnated. Rius gets ready to do the task with Vanna, and Linlin asks him to stop, but Rius assures that he will not do anything crazy and asks him not to worry about anything. He asks Linlin to look at his joystick. It is barely functioning, and Linlin says he became like this because no one stopped him. However, he can stop his master, who has not fully regained his powers, and he claims that he will stop his master from getting into a sharing love scenario in this life. Rius laughs and says that he is a baby, and he does not understand what he is trying to tell him. Therefore, he tries to run towards Vanna, but Linlin uses a magic barrier to stop him. Linlin holds him in the magic barrier and claims that he will only hold him until Vanna is done getting ready. After that, he will be free. Rias tries to escape the magic barrier, but it is too strong at the moment, so he cannot escape. He breaks the window and Vanna comes out to see what is wrong, but everything seems normal to her. While staying in the middle of the air, Rias thinks that this magic barrier is too strong and he feels proud of his staff. And seeing him repairing the broken house is also something amazing. Rias thinks about how to cancel it and amidst, uses magic through which he escapes the barrier in a second. Linlin tries to make his move again, but Rias dodges it. Therefore, Rias says to Linlin that he will not fall for the same trick again and again and claims that this is his turn now. Linlin claims that he cannot use his magic against him, but Rias is smart. He uses the item box and stores Linlin in there. He says to Linlin that he will surely let him out after they are done doing the task. However, the item box is too weak against the staff of that caliber, which is why he can escape it. Linlin says to Rias that he underestimated him, but Rias claims that he did not, but if he managed to hold him in for a few seconds, he could pull out another staff that he has used from the item box. Rias wants to fight with Linlin, as it has been a while now, and Linlin asks him if he is trying to mess with him just because he wants to do the task with Vanna in there. Rias says that it is obvious and there is nothing hidden. Both of them start to fight while Vanna thinks that fireworks are going on. She starts to think about Rias and wonders what he is, as in appearance he is just a baby. His movements in the guild were incredibly fast, and she thinks babies nowadays are truly something else. Meanwhile, on the other side, in the Sacred Mountain, the stronghold of the Holy Church, the parents show their child they just adopted to the Saintess. They think that the child is the reincarnated Grand Sage, and the mother says this child also tried to use magic, even at an early stage. They request the Lady Saintess to declare this child at the church. The Saintess tells them that this child is not the reincarnation of the Great Sage, and Lord Gallia angrily says that this child's energy is 98. Lady Saintess admits that it is an amazing power to have, but if this child is truly the reincarnation of the Great Sage, even if he is a newborn baby, she assumes that his magic power may have surpassed 1,000. All of them are shocked after hearing that, and then the Saintess says that they have stopped the information from spreading. The timing of the one's birth did match with that of the given one. Saintess asks if there was any child born around the same time, but no one replies. On the other side, Rias floats into the room while being wounded, and Vanna asks him what happened to him as he seems beaten up. Rias is happy that he won the fight with Linlin, and he starts to sleep in the room. Meanwhile, the ones who left the child out in the forest are worried about what they have done. They are scared about the charge of leaving the Great Sage out in the forest. They were sure that they were right back then, the needle turning over 1,000. Dahlia gets angry at the one measuring the power because he told him that 1,000 is impossible back then, and that guy asks for forgiveness. Even though there is a truth that the number 98 is the number they never had before, the Great Sage is at 1,000 and it cannot be ignored. The guys know that they have no other choice but to look for Rias, and they have to search for him in the Forbidden Forest as they left him there 2 months ago. Even if the chance for the Great Sage is not that high, they have to look for him. While everyone is worrying about him, Rias is enjoying his time with Vanna, and it seems like now he can fully enjoy his life to the fullest. He keeps sleeping next to Vanna, and she keeps thinking about when will he wake up, as she does not want to disturb the little stick guy. Rias went into the room to get fresh, but he was unconscious the whole time. After some time, Vanna leaves him home, claiming that there is a quest nearby, so it is good for her to leave early. Also, she has to go because it has been a while since there is a request this big, and she tells Rias to use the room as he likes. As she leaves, Rias thinks that he slept in there like a wooden plank, and he lost his opportunity to squeeze the melons. He welcomes Linlin back into the room, and he captures him inside a subspace, which he made inside the subspace, that he made inside another subspace, and he broke out after many hours. Linlin says that he is impressed that his master almost made him give up halfway. During the entrance exam of the Adventurers Guild, Rias goes into the hall, and he sees that the hall is full of youngsters. Linlin says to his master that he is still older than them, and Rias agrees with him. Amidst, a girl angrily asks who brought the baby into the examination hall, as she knows that this baby will cry nonstop in the middle of the exam. She asks to take him out of the room, and Rias tells her that she is wrong, as he is also taking the exam as well. The examiner was shocked as the baby just spoke, and the baby claimed that he was speaking using telepathy. Amidst, the master enters and asks everyone to shut their mouth and listen to him carefully.
Hey!
He tells everyone that the exam will start at the moment and asks everyone not to mind the baby. The lady teacher says not that she understands that, but the guild master has permitted, so he is officially taking the exam. The people in the room are shocked and the exam time begins. The first exam is the writing exam. Rias thinks about everything he heard from Vanna and Arya-san, that it will have sets of questions that cover everyday common knowledge necessary for an adventurer. However, the common knowledge of this age has greatly changed from the time during his previous life. Linlin asks Grand Sage if he fully understood the common knowledge from his previous life, and he tells him there is no need to worry about that. He says that if he uses magic to read someone's thoughts, even if there are a lot of idiots here, he can guess what the correct answer is, thus, he can score higher than the passing grade. Raris starts to read minds and wonders if the guild asks this kind of tricky question in the exam, but it does not matter for him as long as he is able to draw conclusions from everyone's answers. He keeps thinking about it and wonders if his questions are really different from others. Meanwhile, the female examiner goes to meet the guild's master and asks if he is serious about the baby adventure. The master says that he is not someone who needs a formal test to begin with, but since they cannot just make an exception, they will just let him take the exam officially the day after tomorrow. However, he is truly one of a kind. Not only he can already talk and move around, but he also possesses that much magic power. It is the first time since the guild has seen someone like him. The lady examiner stays quiet, and then the master asks her if there is something wrong, but she says no, there is nothing wrong. Marisha, the lady examiner, starts to think that she herself became an adventurer that the divine has admired. She is not sure about this baby adventurer because she is a B-rank adventurer and she has never been praised like this. She feels weird that the person who used to praise her is praising someone younger than her. Marisha has prepared a special question paper for the genius and she wants to see if he can answer them. While these thoughts are going through her mind, Rias reads it and he thinks despite her appearance. She did that to him, but he finds it a cute one as they are just a set of tricky questions. He gives the exam and it is time for the result. Marisha announces the result and she keeps telling marks to everyone while Rias is waiting. As his turn comes, he gets 100 marks and feels glad that he did it. He thinks the last question was tough to answer, but thankfully that one question was worth 3 points and he feels really glad. Then Marisha asks tricky questions him and she questions if the telepathy he uses will not cause any problem in his mind. Rias replies that no matter how she thinks of it, communicating via telepathy during battle is more efficient, and when it comes to speaking, everything depends on the surroundings. Rias asks her if this will be sufficient and Marisha gets angry. Then he asks her what is wrong with her as he is talking normally, and now it seems like she is the one who is not talking normally. Marisha stays quiet after hearing it, and then they go out for another test. She gives all of the members a map, and she tells them to travel to the places designed on the map they have. She tells them to get the tokens placed there while heading for the goal and announces the time limit, which is 2 hours. Furthermore, they are also told that they will meet some monsters on their way, but they will have to deal with it themselves. She also tells them to signal them through the surveillance bug when they want to give up, and after they do so, the rescue team will arrive and they will be saved. The map she has given to the baby Rias is impossible to complete in 2 hours as a lot of things are waiting for him along the way. Rias reads her mind again and he is ready to go, and he leaves the place before anybody else does. The C-rank adventurer, Lotto, and Lena, who is also a C-rank adventurer, show up. They ask everyone to get ready as the practical exam is going to begin shortly, but one of the members asks them to take a break for a moment, but they keep announcing the rewards and tell them about being an adventurer. The master then tells them to work hard, as dreams will not get them where they want to be, and says anyone who lacks the resolve should go back and do normal jobs instead. Marisha-san keeps messing with Rias, and she asks him if he wants to drink milk. Meanwhile, people ask her about the mission and question if they have to capture a powerful monster in this place or something like that. Marisha tells them that they will have to defeat the goblins inside the cave, and no one can understand why they have to mess with the goblins as they are the weakest ones. People start to chatter that they can beat them up easily, and some of them claim that they already beat some of them. A single person can easily win against 3 goblins, and Marisha thinks that these guys are useless because if they become adventurers, they will end right away. Rita speaks up and asks everyone to stop thinking like that. He tells them that it does not mean they can defeat goblins every time just because they defeated them before. He says in battles, differences in number make territory advantage more significant, and even if they are fighting against enemies weaker than them, it is useful to stay active and it will help them to stay alive. He asks them to analyze each aspect of what is happening, understand it, and choose the most effective one, and if they do not do it like that, then this exam will be a waste. He asks everyone if they understood, and everyone says yes to it. Marisha feels angry because Rias is saying the same things Dolge-san does, and she just hates that kid. All of them walk into the cave and Marisha tells everyone to do it themselves as they are not going to lend a hand. They feel hot and it stinks in there and everyone wants to get it done and get home already. Amidst, a goblin shows up and people get scared while Rias feels determined to beat the goblin. He asks everyone to stay where they are. While they walk deeper into the cave, a huge number of goblins show up and people are shocked as they never saw this many goblins at once. Goblins gather up and they stop them from running behind, and the members think it is not quite dangerous. However, the guys seem motivated and they say no matter how many of them are there, they are still goblins and they are ready to defeat them. They mess with the goblins and they finally get separated from each other. Marisha angrily tells Rias to go and fight as he is the youngest of all of them, and he says if she is careless, she might be persuaded to fight for herself. He says that Marisha knew about the goblins' pack from the start, which is why she chose this place to be the exam ground. Rias asks her if she already searched this place properly, and she replies that she surely did that. Rias tells her that goblins are playing a trick, and Marisha says yes, she knows as the goblins from before acted more weird than usual, but Rias says it is wrong. He tells her that goblins led them to think this place was fit to be the place of exam, and it was them, the guild, who had fallen for their trick. Amidst, a hobgoblin appears and everyone in there gets scared after seeing it. Marisha is shocked after seeing it as a hobgoblin can't appear there, and Rias says that rather than messing with a single person, it is better to mess with 10 people who will come alter. He says they can choose not to come out and yet they have 6 females with them. Since they chose to go deeper, he wonders how many months will pass since the rescue will come to save them. He says during this period it is possible to use 6 people as their identical, to give birth to hundreds of goblins, and that is more than sound reason to attack them. Marisha asks Lotto and Lena to retreat every single examiner out of the place, and Marisha thinks that she agrees with Rias' opinion, but still, she cannot imagine that a mere goblin can have so much intelligence. She wonders if it is possible. While she is in the middle of her thoughts, a goblin tries to attack her and Lana shouts at her to be careful. The thing that attacked her was the Goblin Lord. It is the king of goblins, and he is barely born from normal goblins. Due to its intelligence, strength, and leadership ability, the goblins can get double in number in no time. The Goblin Lord hits Marisha and says as expected she is not dead, as they do not get rid of females because they later share love with them. However, they mess with males and take their equipment. The Goblin Lord monster is equal to an A-ranked adventurer, and everyone knows that the trick Rias told them about is that thing's doing. Everyone in there has fallen into a trick. However, there is one who is still powerful enough, and he knows that the Goblin Lord has a cowardly nature, and it is a pain to deal with him. Rias says if it is Marisha, she will deal with the hobgoblin and then help everyone to escape, which is why she will eventually feel the need to defeat him all by herself. But if she is with him, they will just run away to the deepest hole they can find. Rias says the reason he ignored practicing his skills and abilities is because of this cowardly king. He says, to win the fight, it is best to defeat the boss in front of them with the overwhelming strength in front of them. Rias uses his powers and attacks the Goblin Lord while saying that he fell for his trick.